Mom, you really called 911 over a shed? That's what the cop said deadpan to my HOA president, Linda Walsh, while I stood in my yard holding a half-full tackle box and trying not to laugh. I mean, imagine calling emergency services because your neighbor put up a fishing shed. Not a grow house. Not a meth lab. A shed. That I had full permits for. But the wildest part. That call had nothing to do with a shed, not really. It was about what was buried under it. And my dog? He knew. Let me back up a sec. 6 months ago, I thought I'd found peace. Mirror Lake was everything I needed after deployment: still water, soft mornings, a quiet place to exhale. Ranger, my retired military German Shepherd, he got it too. We'd sit on the dock, me with coffee, him with his chin on my boot. He saved my life more than once in a rock, not in the Hollywood way, but in that silent, sixth sense kind of way. He hadn't backed in months, just soaked in the quiet with me. Until the shed. I built it over one weekend. Simple 8x10, just enough space to organize my rods, reels, and gear that was taking over the cabin. Permits in hand, HOA guidelines followed to the letter, neat little thing tucked near the back of my lot. Ranger lounged nearby, tail thumping occasionally like he approved. All was good for 3 days. Then she showed up, Linda, clipboard clutched like a badge, heels clicking on my gravel like she was marching into a courtroom. This is unacceptable, she snapped. It violates HOA standards. I stepped out, Come. Mom, I got county permits. Check the bylaws twice. Everything's legal. She waved a hand like I just recited a menu in a language she didn't care to understand. It ruins the lakeside aesthetic. It needs to go. And right then, Ranger stood up and backed loud, sharp, sudden. He hadn't made a sound in weeks. Linda froze. I mean froze, pale, trembling, backing up like she recognized him from somewhere. But not like oh no, it's a dog kind of fear. No, this was different. She shouted, "Keep that dog away from me," and bolted to her car, shaking. That was my first red flag. Ranger doesn't back unless something's wrong. I learned to listen to him the hard way overseas. I knew that bark. Something had set him off, and it wasn't just Linda being annoying. 2 hours later, police sirens. Yep, for real. I'm suddenly back in Baghdad, heart racing, before I remember I'm just a guy in cargo shorts and sandals with a fishing hobby. Officer Tim Rodriguez shows up. Nice guy, young, eyes like he's seen a few HOA horror stories already. Sir, we got a report of illegal construction. I tried not to laugh and walked him to the shed. This the criminal activity. He checked the permits, scratched his head, chuckled. Looks legit to me. You're good. Sorry about this. But Linda wasn't done. Not by a long shot. A few days later, I get a violation notice thicker than a phone book. Legally stacked with unauthorized structure, non-compliance, aesthetic disruption. They slapped me with a $500 fine and said I'd get charged $50 per day until I tore it down. But here's where things got real weird. That night, Ranger kept pacing near the shed. Not random pacing, targeted. Sniffing 3 specific spots near the back corner. The ground looked off. Patchy grass, a faint chemical smell. Ranger was trained to detect explosives. He wasn't backing at gophers. So I grabbed a flashlight and started digging. 6 inches down, I hit something that didn't belong: thick black contractor bags. The kind used on job sites. Torn at the edge. Paint cans. Chemical containers. Stuff that should never be underground. It reeked of solvents and something metallic, like old batteries and lies. Then it clicked: Linda wasn't mad about the shed. She was mad about where I put it. My innocent little structure sat right on top of what turned out to be an access road for her backlit dumping operation. Yep, Linda Walsh, HOA queen, was running an illegal waste disposal business right out of her backyard. Paint thinners, solvents, construction debris all buried behind her perfect landscaping. I launched the drone the next morning just to get a better view, and holy hell. What looked like grass was actually tarp covered with fake sod and mulch. Rectangular plots, maybe 10 by 20 feet each, laid out in rows. From above, it looked like a graveyard but for toxins. Ranger had found it. My shed had blocked it. Couple days later, she escalates. Shows up with 2 goons carrying fake demolition orders, county letterhead, fake seals, the whole show. Tried to intimidate me into tearing it down. I stayed calm, asked for permits, reached for my phone to call the county. They backed off fast. But that night, she tried something bigger. I couldn't sleep. Neither could Ranger. At 2 a.m., he growled low, the kind of growl I hadn't had since Fallujah. I looked out the window and saw floodlights on Linda's property and heavy machinery moving in. An excavator. Dump trucks. Men with shovels and masks. They were trying to dig it up, erase the evidence. So I filmed everything. When one worker grabbed the heavy bag and made for the truck, Ranger broke from my side and bolted, intercepted him like a missile. The bag dropped. Split open. Paint cans, chemical jugs, the smell was enough to make grown men gag. One of the workers cracked. Yeah, she pays us cash to dump all this here. Been doing it for years. By the time officer team arrived, I had video, testimony, and a pile of evidence too toxic to ignore. Linda showed up too, screamed about how I ruined everything. No one was getting hurt until you built that shed, she yelled. I've been doing this for years. And there it was. The confession. She was arrested on the spot. Environmental crimes. Illegal dumping. Fraud. You name it. The neighborhood. Yeah, they changed their tune. Folks who had avoided me started waving again. Ranger became a local hero. Kids asked to pet him. One guy left a steak on my porch with a sticky note that said, "Sorry I doubted you." And the best part? The county came in and cleaned it all up. Turns out, I didn't lower property values, I saved them. Groundwater tested clean after remediation. The whole lake was safer. My shed stayed. I carved a little sign and hung it over the door, Ranger's post. That dog didn't just save my life in Iraq, he saved this entire community from a ticking environmental time bomb buried in Linda Walsh's backyard. And now I sit on the dock again, coffee in hand, sunrise on the lake, Ranger at my feet. Same peace as before, but this time it's earned. Secured. You tell me, what would you have done? Would you have torn the shed down to keep the peace? Or trusted your gut and your dog to dig deeper? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you stand on this. Was I right to push back? Or should I have walked away? Type Ranger if you think every neighborhood needs a hero like him.